So you think you know YouTube. Then you'll probably know which of these Veritasium thumbnails had a higher click-through rate. Surprisingly, Veritasium himself didn't know the answer, and the video's performance suffered because of it. Now, tell me if this sounds familiar. You're an experienced creator and you've just spent ages on your latest video. It took you weeks to research, film, script, edit, and finally you've uploaded what you think is your best video yet. But according to YouTube, it's not. The analytics even tell you it's the worst out of your recent videos. But there is some good news though, because you're not alone. Even a channel with millions of subscribers like Veritasium has those videos that flop at first, but the truth is, often it has nothing to do with the video and everything to do with the packaging. The difference between you and him is he knows how to turn those around into a 1 out of 10. And that's because with nearly every upload on the channel, Derek and his team diligently test alternate versions in real time to see which performs better. Sometimes the changes are subtle, other times the entire concept is different. But the end goal is always the same, to get view graphs that look like this by only changing the packaging. The first of many examples can be found in a video he made about Clickbait, which he also A/B tested. A few years ago, a video about asteroids was uploaded to his channel. Now he quite liked it, and the comments had people saying it was maybe one of his best, but the analytics told a different story. It was performing well below his average. With its trajectory, it probably wouldn't even reach 2 million views.
I tried different titles and thumbnails like Asteroid Impact, what are our chances? Or Asteroid Impact, what could we do? But none of these changes got much traction. And then on day 3 after launch, I changed the title and thumbnail to "These are the asteroids to worry about." And immediately, the video started doing better.
As you'll notice again and again, one change in packaging can have a huge impact on how a video performs. The video now has about 69 million views and counting, and it's the second most popular to date. It even inspired the packaging for another video from someone else about the world's tallest statue, which itself gained 36 million views. So if you picked A at the start, you're basically a thumbnail genius. Now, be honest. If you saw this on your YouTube homepage, would you click on it? His friends over at the How Ridiculous channel went to this dam to try and beat the world record for the highest basket ever scored. While there, they've recorded this video. In his video, Derek features the exact same clip. The only difference is he explains what's going on. These two videos were posted on the exact same day, about the same topic, and they were nearly the exact same length. But one of them was just packaged better than the other. Sometime later, the Veritasium channel was going through a bit of a makeover. Videos new and old were getting a refresh look in the hopes of increasing their click-through rates. And up next was the basketball thumbnail. Learning a thing or two from the How Ridiculous video, they made this thumbnail. It captures the same feeling of anticipation as the other, but it also includes this arrow and the basketball at different points in time to communicate the idea of the Magnus effect. The original packaging was purely academic, and it didn't show potential viewers the most interesting parts of the video. But because he disconnected the packaging from the main lesson a little bit, he caught the attention of tens of millions more people and was able to teach them about a quirky physics phenomenon. And you know you've got a good thumbnail if Mr. Beast makes one just like it. It's fun to compare these two videos posted 6 years apart because you can see what's been focused on and improved over time. Speaking of Mr. Beast, he's the one who told Derek to use this title and thumbnail for a video about shade balls. Derek was going to call the video
"Throwing Shade Balls." And he was like, no. He suggested, why are there 96 million black balls on this lake?
Obviously it worked, and without changing the packaging once, it quickly became his best video ever, currently with 82 million views. But even after over a decade on YouTube, his videos don't always start off strong right away. Sometimes the packaging looks like this at first, or this. Yikes. So what does he do when a video isn't performing well after launch? So I just found a ton of his old thumbnails on the Wayback Machine, and I'm able to go back and see his original thumbnails and how they compare to the new ones. I cataloged and downloaded dozens of thumbnail variations he's used for various videos, and here's what I found. The first thing that jumps out to me, and it seems like almost every single one, ends up with a different thumbnail in the end than what they originally start with. This driverless cars one, the title started, "Driverless cars are already here," and the thumbnail text said, "How safe are they?" Or the current one says, "Why you should want driverless cars on the roads now," which is a much longer title. And the arrow is also different, but I can see why those changes helped for the thumbnail. It made it simpler, but it's more intriguing. It's a lot more intriguing in my opinion, so I see why that worked. Risking my life to settle a physics debate, that title ended up working. Whether they tested that or not, hard to say, but either way, it's the same that it started as and what it is now, but the thumbnail is different for sure. And it started out with just text, "How is this possible?" The only change was They removed the arrow and the text and added just a picture of him. It's not obvious that someone's actually riding this vehicle. So when you see his face, you see he's riding this weird windmill. It's very interesting. Now this math one, the first time I ever saw this, I saw it as math's fundamental flaw with this weird thumbnail. I never caught this. He started it with, "You can't prove everything that's true." In the thumbnail, "I can prove it," in this weird picture of him. I can see why they wanted to A/B test that. That doesn't mean anything to me. Very confusing. I don't know what he's trying to say. But then the picture is just so strange. I feel like that's the only thing that brought in a lot of viewers on that one. No one's really sure what they're looking at, and they gotta click to find out. No computer is safe. The text stayed the same. The image is much different though. The first one is up close of the Earth, asteroid looking thing, some rays. The one that ended up being looks much more apocalyptic and doomsday vibes, very scary. And it says no computer is safe. Oh, but the original title was How Distant Galaxies Mess with Our Lives. The universe being hostile. I mean, that's just interesting. Ooh, this one's the most different. It doesn't even seem like the same video. At first it was, "This problem broke math and led to quantum physics." But then it turned into how imaginary numbers were invented. The first one was much more abstract, but it obviously just wasn't interesting enough to enough people, and they wanted to try something new. This video, apparently the first one they used was your DNA is already in a database. Looking at the image alone, there's not much context. People aren't gonna know right off the bat those numbers are DNA, but they ended up doing something with more color. How they caught the Golden State Killer. So it's much more story driven, much more specific than your DNA is already in a database. Okay, this is probably the best improvement. It started as this plant-inspired robot could save your life. It doesn't look like a robot, it just looks like a tube. It's not clear what's going on here. As far as you can tell, it's just a tube. But in the final version, it makes a lot more sense. It's busting through a tight space full of nails. And the text says unstoppable. You can, guess it's moving through that. And it says this unstoppable robot could save your life. That's much more intriguing to me than plant-inspired robot. That doesn't make much sense. This makes a lot more sense with the new one. Kind of just makes the stakes a lot more clear. It kind of explains what the robot is capable of a lot faster. It's great he can test different thumbnails and pick the one with the higher click-through rate, but how exactly does he find out which one is better? A while back, real-time data was added to YouTube Analytics that allows you to see the view graph over the last 60 minutes. Derek and his team watched the view graph after uploading, and when an alternate thumbnail changes the trajectory of the video, they can safely assume it must have resulted in a better click-through rate. But it's not a magic bullet. There's something important they need to keep in mind. The best time to test is during the first 24 hours, while the community makes up the majority of the viewership. This means the data will be the cleanest, and it's the best time frame to use when comparing the video against past uploads. The thing is though, not all viewers are the same. Over time, the existing community tends to drop off, and if a video is performing about average, browse and suggested traffic tends to grow like this. YouTube doesn't split up the data in this way. So it's important they infer what viewers are likely watching. And remember that the view graph they see is an average of these two audiences, new viewers and community. Though A/B testing your thumbnails is pointless if they're not well designed in the first place. If you really want to get high click-through rates, you need to know what makes a clickable thumbnail. And this video will show you how a veteran YouTuber, Ryan Trahan, does just that.